The most patriotic thing on this toolbox is a lie, and the government's got the receipts. There's a giant red, white, and blue shield on the box that says, "All American made and proud of it." Turn the box on its side and down in the small print 3 more words. Assembled in Mexico. I'm not the one who wrote that down. The Federal Trade Commission is. Its complaint lays out the Kwikset box, the flag where you'd see it, the fine print where you wouldn't, and Kwikset's a Black & Decker company the government ordered to stop. And if a lock brand owned by Black & Decker will put the flag on the box and the truth down the side, you already know it doesn't end at locks. It runs straight through the wrenches, the sockets, and the ratchets hanging on your pegboard right now. This one matters because you bet your livelihood on these tools. You paid the American premium on purpose because that flag was supposed to promise the thing lasts. The money stayed home, and a real person here kept a job. So I went and checked the badge on more than a dozen of the tool names you'd know on site, brand by brand, and I read every line of the fine print. By the end, you'll have a 10-second test you can run on any tool before your money leaves your hand, and the 4 American brands whose own websites carry no asterisk at all. Let's start with what that flag is even allowed to mean. Made in USA is a law, not a feeling. The Federal Trade Commission standard, in its own words, is that anything sold as made in USA has to be all or virtually all made right here. Not most of it, not the part that photographs well for the box, the whole tool. Take the law away, and made in USA is just ink. The same ink anybody can buy by the barrel. And the agency doesn't just print the standard and walk off. It has gone to court over it, on hand tools by name, the kind you'd pull off a pegboard without a second thought. Back in 1999, the commission ordered Stanley to stop stamping USA on Husky and Proto tools, the wrenches and sockets and ratchets that didn't clear that bar. Stanley agreed and changed the labels. Then it happened again. In 2006, Stanley paid a $205,000 penalty over Mac Tools ratchets sold as made in USA, and the government's own filing said Stanley had kept a significant portion of the profits off those mislabeled tools. That's the part worth sitting with. The government saying Stanley pocketed real money off a stamp that wasn't true on the same kind of ratchet you'd grab off the truck. Stanley settled both times, paid the penalty, and changed the labels. And that name matters more than it looks on the box. Stanley Works is Stanley Black & Decker today, the same house that owns DeWalt, Craftsman, and MAC. So the badge you trust on that red rolling toolbox in the corner of the garage and the badge the FTC went after twice come out of the very same company. If you're thinking that's all old history, the same move got a $2 million bill just a couple years back. In 2024, the FTC hit Kubota with $2 million, which the agency called the largest civil penalty it had ever handed down in a Made in USA case. Kubota's a tractor company, so I'm not putting them on any tool list. I'm showing you the pattern, because it's the identical trick. The agency said Kubota moved the making of some parts overseas and never went back to fix the labels. The flag stayed on the equipment after the factory left the country. When even the tractor people get caught doing it, you know that same move is running right through the tool aisle you shop every weekend. So those are the 2 that got caught, lying. But most of the big names in your box never lied at all. They did something quieter, and once you see it, you can't stop seeing it on a label again. They keep the flag big and up on the front, and they tuck the asterisk somewhere you have to go hunting for it. And when you go hunting on their own websites, they hand you the split themselves. Klein Tools says, in its own words, that the vast majority of what it sells is made in the USA, that it builds 14 times more here than anywhere else. Read a little farther down that same page, and there it is. Klein's run a plant in Mexico City since 1970. Channellock says its pliers and snips and screwdrivers are 100% American, and then a few lines on, that a select number of its products are imported, as needed. Even Estwing, the Rockford hammer people whose blue-gripped steel a whole trade grew up swinging, says its all-steel hammers and axes are American, and then that a select number of other items are imported. None of that is a crime, not one word of it. It's the law working the way it's meant to, the honest version, where the company keeps its flag but tells you the rest if you bother to look. That's the fine print doing the job the flag out front is hoping you'll skip, and every one of those companies wrote it down where a careful buyer could find it. You just have to be the kind of buyer who turns the box over, and not many people bother. And then there's the one that does it right, top to bottom. Snap-on, the truck that pulls down your road every week, puts a country of origin line on every single product page it has. Not one flag stretched across the whole brand. A per tool answer, tool by tool. I pulled up 4 of them myself. A combination wrench, a set of oil filter pliers, a cordless impact wrench, and a ratcheting screwdriver, and all 4 came back USA. But the 4 I happened to pull aren't the point. The point is you can check yours, the exact one you're about to set on the counter, before a single dollar leaves your hand. That's what honest looks like on a website. And I'll be straight with you, the way I'd want somebody straight with me. Snap-on makes imported tools too. I'm just not going to stand here and name you one I haven't pulled up and read for myself, because naming a tool I never checked is the exact game we're here to shut down. So here's the test, and it takes about 10 seconds, and it works on any brand hanging in that store. Pull up the maker's own Made in USA page on your phone right there in the aisle. Hunt for one sentence, the one with the word select in it, or the words global materials, or the words as needed. That sentence is the asterisk. If it's sitting there, part of the line is imported, and you owe it to yourself to check the specific tool before it goes in the cart. If the brand prints a country of origin line on each product the way Snap-on does, use it tool by tool. And if you read that whole page top to bottom and there's no asterisk sentence anywhere on it, no select, no global materials, no as needed, then congratulations, you found one of the rare ones. That's the test I ran on every name in this video, more than a dozen of the brands you'd spot on a pegboard from clear across the store, and I read all of them the same way. Now, before anybody takes this the wrong way, an asterisk is not a scandal, and a brand that carries one can still be the best tool in your hand. This was never about shaming Klein for a plant in Mexico City, and it's not about telling the guy who's trusted the same ratchet for 30 years that he got played, because he didn't. So here's the honest hole in my own test, and I'd rather you hear it from me. A brand carrying an asterisk can still be more American than a spotless one that just doesn't make very much. The flag isn't magic. Read the line, don't tally up the sentences. The test just tells you where to look. You've still got to read the tool. So after all the flags and all the fine print and all the sentences with the word select buried down inside them, here are the 4 that don't make you go looking at all. 4 brands that say it flat out on their own websites with nothing tucked away out of sight. Council Tool out of Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina says 100% made in the USA, no carve out. And it stamps that on the axes and hatchets a forester swings all day, the kind you rehandle instead of replace. Warwood Hand Forging in Wheeling, West Virginia, says on its own site that it will always produce a 100% American sourced and manufactured product, and that's the sledges and bars and picks a rail crew leans its whole weight on. Wild Tool out of Hiawatha, Kansas, says flat out that all of Wild's manufactured tools are made in the United States. And here's the part that ought to put a grin on your face. Wild has spent years building private label tools for Snap-on, for SK, for Cornwell, and for Craftsman. Some of the tools you already trust, that you already paid a premium for, that maybe wear a name the truck sells, were forged by the one brand that never needed an asterisk. And Martin out of Arlington, Texas says all Martin tools are made in the USA, a division of a sprocket and gear outfit that's been turning American steel for generations. 4 brands, 4 states, and not one line of fine print between them. And look at what those 4 have in common. They're not the flashy names stacked on the end cap at the big box store, and that right there is the whole point. You're not going to see these 4 in a Super Bowl ad. A Wild pry bar, a council axe, a Warwood sledge. That's the tool your grandkid pulls out of the shed one day and it still bites. The brands with no asterisk tend to be the ones that never chase the shelf space to begin with, which is the very reason they never needed any fine print to hide behind. They stayed small, they stayed put, and they kept making the same tool the same way while the big names went shopping for cheaper labor. Now the one honest exception, and it matters, an asterisk on its own is not a betrayal. Klein telling you about a Mexico City plant that serves the Mexican market, Snap-on printing the country of origin on every page it has, Channellock owning up that a handful of things come in from overseas. None of that is the con. The FTC didn't come after the honest disclosure. What it went after, every time, was the hiding, the giant flag out front, and the truth kept quiet on the side panel. So read the fine print, because on the good brands, somebody put it there so you could. So here's your verdict. Before you buy anything wearing a flag, pull up the maker's own page and find the Asterisk sentence first. And if you want the tools that don't carry one at all, you're looking at Council, Warwood, Wild, and Martin. You always had a feeling that flag on the box was doing a little too much of the talking. You were right. Now you know right where they hid the rest of it. On the side panel, down in the small print. So run the 10-second check before any tool leaves that shelf. Find the word select or the words global materials on the brand's own page. And if it's there, read that one tool's origin line before you pay. If you're the kind of person who turns the box over and reads the side panel instead of trusting the front, this is your channel, because there's an American company that's forged wrenches in one Ohio town for almost 100 years, and you will never find one of them on a shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's. And it's not that they're too small to make the cut. Look at who pays for that shelf space, and who'd rather you never got your hands on their wrench. Why, the best American wrench is the one they keep off the rack. That's the next one. Subscribe, and that one lands in front of you the day it goes up.